Welcome back to the polls. For nearly 2 years, residents of Baatsona East and Central have endured a worsening water crisis that's taking a serious toll on their health and finances. Many say cases of typhoid, skin rashes and diarrhea have become common as they are forced to rely on rainwater and pay exorbitant prices to private water tankers. Now, weary and frustrated residents say their patience has run out and they are threatening to escalate the issue if authorities do not act. Noella Karen Yale has more in this report.
I am here at Baatsona Eastern Central on the Spintex Road, specifically the district pay point of the Ghana Water Limited. And the desperation for water in the area runs deep. Residents say they've forgotten what it feels like or looks like to turn on the taps and see water flow. And for almost 2 years, they've had to rely on rainwater harvesting and water tankers who charge exorbitant prices, twice or even 3 times the usual rate, just to fill a few drums of water.
At the Daniel Classic School Complex International here in Baatsona, Mr. and Mrs. Ahaji say keeping the school running has become a daily struggle. With no water flowing through the taps, they now depend largely on rainwater to keep the classrooms and washrooms clean. They explain that even when they manage to get water from private tankers, delivery delays and poor quality makes it difficult to maintain hygiene standards for their pupils.
In fact, right from last year and this year is the worst, because I would say this year is worse because even the water we'll be buying, maybe 700, is now 1,000. The 400 is 600 now. You see, so this year is the worst time. And it will take you, when you have to order ahead of time, maybe 2 days before you can get it. Like, you see that this time I'm empty. I only hope is this. And if I don't give the order now, Monday we'll be in trouble. And so sometimes it is the rain that comes in and we get some, like you saw those, that's just this.
Let me speak to your wife. I mean, you run a school. You have a lot of kids here. Obviously, they need water to go by their daily activities here in school. How do you cope? How are you navigating the situation?
The situation is terrible. In fact, I even went to the Facebook and then I spoke to the president to come to our aid because we are handling children. I even told them that there was once we purchased the water, but it was like milkish. And you use this water to cook for the children.
It was dirty.
It was dirty. Do you understand? So, and recently the children are going to admission, vomiting, running, which is not the best. So we want the government to give us water.
The chairman of the Residents Association, Mr. Thomas, says the water shortage has gone beyond inconvenience. It's now a public health and financial crisis. He explains that families are forced to spend money that could have gone to other household needs just to buy water.
To fill the tank, these tanks, I have to buy 800 cedis a week. 800 cedis a week. But the normal bill that I pay is 100 cedis because I use just about 5,000-6,000 gallons. So it is about 3,000 cedis a month for 1 year. One tanker actually told me that, oh, if it's for a building or something, they are going to take it from a dam. But if it's for house, they will going to take it from a tap or a borehole. Only God knows the metallic particles, the rust. We find a lot of things. We find insects in the water. We find metal particles. So the rainwater is something that we have to rely on. As at now that we speak, look, the tanks are empty. They are all empty. Look at that. There's no water in them. Skin rashes have gone on the rise, diarrhea, diseases, and so on and so forth. Vomiting. There's a school right here. We'll go there and you talk to them. And it's become such a major issue because health is wealth. Without good water, sanitation doesn't mean anything.
Many here believe the situation has dragged on for far too long. Frustrated and losing patience, residents say they are ready to take stronger action if authorities fail to restore a steady water supply soon.
This is a situation that appears even to be deliberate. I do not want to say that, but I think that for an area to be without water for 1 whole year, it means that enough is not being done to service the community. We have had numerous explanations. The explanations vary from their tank pipe breaks in the major pipelines. And we are also told that the desalination plant, which is in Teshin, has been shut. So the explanations are so different. So we have realized that there's the need for us to take our lives into our hands. So we are likely to take it up to a higher level. I mean, we are in a community, we are in Tema West. So therefore we have an MP. We have recourse to other means. We have the Tema regional authorities. We have the head office. We have the PURC.
From Baatsona East and Central, here on the Spintex Road, I'm Noella Kareniali, and this is Joy News.
Noella Kareniali with that report. Now let's talk about the budget, because the upcoming 2026 budget is expected to be heavy on VAT rationalization, which could pave the way for the removal of the COVID-19 levy, which President John Dramani Mahama promised to scrap. JoyNews sources say the new VAT structure will no longer be a cost to businesses, with the flat rate system expected to be abolished. JoyNews Research has details of the new VAT, and head of research here at JoyNews, Isaac Kofi, is joining me in the studio with details of it. Kofi, what really do we know about the new VAT?
The 2026 budget is expected to be heavy on taxes, right?
Okay. Not
necessarily to mean that there will be new taxes, but there will be a lot of reforms, rationalization and restructuring.
Okay.
And one tax handle that will play a key role in this whole restructuring of taxes is the value-added tax, which is the VAT.
Right.
Remember, before President Mahama even became president, he had criticized the nature of our current VAT, saying that it was, a tax handle that was milking people dry, looking at its nature, because there was a part of it that made it possible for government to tax a tax on tax, right? To charge a tax on tax. And that is the aspect of the VAT that government wanted to restructure. And remember that there was also a promise by this current government to scrap the COVID-19 levy, which they said was a draconian tax. They were not able to do that in the 2025 budget because you have the COVID-19 levy, which is woven into the VAT system. And so if you want to take it out, you have to dissect the VAT and try and take the COVID-19 out of it before you can say that, well, goodbye to COVID-19 levy. They've done all the consultation, they've done all the legwork and all the technical analysis with support from the World Bank and the IMF. And now we have a new VAT, which the finance minister will present to Parliament on Thursday when he reads the budget. We've been trying to understand what is contained in this new VAT. So we've been speaking to our sources, right? And the confirmation we are getting is that this current VAT that's going to Parliament, or the finance minister is going to put out, there will be no more tax on tax. So essentially, what it means is that, the current status, if you are buying, let's say, bread from the mall, and the original price of the bread is 10 cedis, the current VAT allows government to charge COVID-19 levy of 2.5%, Get Fund levy of 2.5%, NHIL levy of 1%, Get Fund levy and NHIL and COVID levy of 1% on the original price of the product. And when they are done charging all of these taxes, they add the tax that they've charged on the 10 cedis to the 10 cedis before a VAT is applied. So that makes the effective VAT rate, it sends that value to about 22%. Government says they are going to take away that aspect. The COVID-19 aspect will no longer be there. It will go away. And you have the Get Fund levy and the NHIL, which will not be part of the base on which the VAT will be applied. And so that is what it simply means when we say there will be no tax on tax in terms of the VAT. And our sources also say that, if you look at the COVID-19 levy, it will no longer be there. And so that is expected to reduce the effective VAT rate from the current 22 to about, let's say, 20%. And we are also getting information that we could have a 0% VAT for mining companies who are hoping to do exploration, right? So if you're a mining company and you have a license to do exploration, what we are learning from our sources is that the current structure, the current VAT structure will allow you to escape the current VAT system. You will not pay any VAT on your activities. And then also, we also understand that there will be no flat rates anymore, right? So the kind of VAT where we are, where there are different aspects, where there are about 3 types of VAT where people pay different things and there's no compliance anymore. This current structure will mean that there will be no more flat rates. There's going to be a standardized VAT for everybody to
We'll come to the flat rate, but I'm quite interested in the mining one. So who does it apply to? Does it apply to local mining industries or multinational ones, or both of them?
In fact, we are still trying to get details as far as this information is concerned. But what we can confirm, based on what our sources have told us, is that there's an aspect of the restructured VAT that is going to Parliament, which will allow mining companies who are, doing exploration, right, activities, to have a 0% VAT. As to whether this will be small-scale miners or large-scale miners, medium scale, we are still trying to find information with regards to that. I'm sure by tomorrow we should be able to have that information as well. But what we can confirm from our sources is that VAT will play an important role in the upcoming 2026 budget. And you have aspects where it could be possible, and the key word here is that it could be possible that mining companies who are going to do exploration could have a 0% VAT. Effective VAT rates for general consumption and general goods and services expected to be reduced from the current 22% to about 20%. There will be no tax on tax as far as the VAT is concerned, and the fact that the COVID-19 levy, this time around, as a result of the current restructuring of the VAT, we might be able to say goodbye to the COVID levy.
The average Ghanaian will ask, how am I going to benefit from the removal of these taxes that you speak about? Can you help us understand, not to jump ahead of ourselves, though?
Yeah, in fact, I know you shop at the mall a lot, right? So if you actually buy your usual bread that you love, right? And if you buy the bread and you check the receipts, you see a number of taxes, and sometimes you compute the taxes and then you ask yourself, how much is actually the actual cost of the bread? And so with this restructured VAT, the expectation is that prices are expected to go down at the malls, places that, you have this EVATs and all of that. We're expecting that prices will go down because we will not have that cascading impact again where a tax is added to the original price of the good before VAT is taxed. When that happens, you can be rest assured that prices will come down a bit. And currently, inflation is still single digit, trending downwards to about 7%. Currently, it's around 8.1%. That is what consumers should expect. On the side of businesses, this, if happens, will be very, very good news for businesses because they've been complaining about the draconian nature of the current VAT, and many have said that it is the biggest robbery going on and nobody's talking about it because they don't understand the current structure of our VAT. It looks like we are the only country in the world practicing this kind of VAT. And so to be able to sterilize it and bring it to this point, if that is agreed, could also be a very, very big relief for businesses.
Kofi, don't go yet, but let's listen to the finance minister who will be appearing before Parliament on Thursday, Kasiel Atoforsen, speak about reforms in our tax system. Listen to him.
Speaker, I now take you to VAT reforms, VAT reforms. Right Honourable Speaker, we commit to the people of Ghana and this House, the business community, that we will undertake a comprehensive value-added tax reform this year. So, Speaker, with the aim to review the current distortions and cascading structure of the value-added tax regime. Ghana's effective rate, VAT rate is about 22%. This is obviously because the 2.5% Get Fund levy, the National Health Insurance levy of 2.5%, and the COVID levy are well added to the base for a final determination of what is due for VAT purposes. So, Speaker, aside the high VAT rate, businesses are not permitted by law to claim their input VAT for NHIL, Get Fund, and COVID levy, compounding the burden on households. Right Honourable Speaker, our VAT regime has been distorted and rendered inefficient. It combines both VAT and sales tax principles with a flat rate, standard rate, and levies.
So that's the Finance Minister, Ofori-Atta, forcing on the floor of Parliament, promising tax reforms that we're expecting to come into effect when he reads his budget on Thursday. And I still have the head of research here at JoyNews, Isaac Ofori-Atta, in the studio with me. Isaac, you were making a point of how this is going to impact businesses. You've already talked about how the average Ghanaian might benefit or otherwise from these new tax reforms. Let's talk about, or let's wrap up with how it's going to impact businesses.
Well, in fact, this will be a key determinant to how next year's inflation will look like. Because you should know that inflation starts rise from farm gates and production points before it gets to the consumer. And so essentially, if VAT is restructured and we have it in the form that is our source is telling us in terms of the key reduction, the effective rate reducing to 20% from 22%, that will essentially mean that businesses can now reduce their cost of production from that angle of VAT, right? And if you are also talking about the ability to actually collect this VAT, the current system doesn't allow you to collect the VAT, right? The COVID-19 levy, the COVID-19 levy, the GET fund and the NHIL, it's added to your cost. It's added as a cost and you're not able to collect it. But with this new arrangement, businesses can now go ahead to do the collection, whilst you have the COVID-19 aspect of the VAT, which will technically be taken away. And that will be a big relief, not just to consumers, but also for businesses as well.
If you don't go yet, I'll come back to you in a moment. But in the meantime, an audit of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SSNIT, has revealed widespread encroachment on 9 underdeveloped parcels of lands owned by the pension fund, valued at over 800 million Ghana cedis, raising serious concerns about asset protection and institutional control. The audit identified over 3,000 acres of SSNIT lands affected by encroachment. This is equivalent to the size of over 1,700 football fields. Now, data tracked by JoyNews research shows the most heavily impacted are the Baatsona, Akwili, Nkwanta, and Odupong Ofanko sites in the Greater Accra region, all of which have been fully encroached. The JoyNews research team has also been studying their report, and as I mentioned earlier, I still have the head of the research desk here at JoyNews, Ofori-Atta, in the studio with me. But before I speak to you once again, Kofi, let's listen to the Director General of SSNIT, Kwesi Afre-Baini, speak to the Public Account Committee about these lands.
On the 9 plots of land at various locations that were highlighted in the report, SSNIT is in the process of regularizing for the encroachers on 3 of them. We realized that 3 had been almost totally encroached. So the best strategy to adopt at the time was to sell those lands and get those who had built on those lands to pay for those lands. So to date, SSNIT has recovered 23 million cedis and $783,000 from those sales. The regularization is ongoing. The next phase would involve us putting some notifications in the newspapers and letting people know that if they do not regularize before the deadline that we provide, we will then take the necessary steps to protect our interest as well. That's for Botiano, Donkona, and Klagon. For Wa and Boga, there was a need for us to do the base mapping, which has now been done and is with the 2 district assemblies for the scheming to be done, after which we will take the necessary steps to sell those lands as well. Then there is the land, the OTA land at Edum. There's a bit of litigation on that land, so that we would have to go through the legal processes in trying to resolve that. For Akwadum and Odupong Ofanko, the base mapping is currently also underway to ensure that we move to the next phase of trying to get value from those lands. Thank you.
So that's the Director General of SSNIT when he appeared before Parliament's Appointment Committee a while ago. And Public Accounts Committee, I beg your pardon, a few days ago. And I still have Ofori-Atta in the studio with me to break down details of these lands that have been encroached upon that are worth over 800 million Ghana cedis. Kofi, what more do we know about this staggering revelation?
In fact, when I saw the data or the numbers, I was shocked because these lands that we are talking about, that's about 3,161 acres of land. And these are just 9 parcels of land belonging to SSNIT. And if you are watching us at home and you want to visualize this, it's about over 1,700 football fields combined. That is the mass of the land that we are talking about, that SSNIT, belonging to SSNIT, and currently that have been, encroached upon, and that's really unfortunate. Because if you value this, 3,161, acres of land that we are talking about, what you realize is that in terms of the estimation, the monetary value of this land is about 851 million Ghana cedis. 851 million Ghana cedis is the value of the SSNIT lands that have been encroached upon at the moment. And in fact, if we try and break this down and look at the top 3 in terms of the affected places, SSNIT has a land, according to the Auditor General's report, at Baatsona, right? It's about 1,278 acres. That land has been fully encroached by people or private developers. You have another land, 640 acres, belonging to SSNIT again, at Ofori-Atta, fully encroached. Odupon of Angkor, the land you spoke about, 500 acres, also fully encroached. Now, we spoke about the big figure of 851 million Ghana cedis. Let's just break this down to the top 3 that we've spoken about. Okay. If you look at the Baatsona land, for instance, that land, according to the Auditor General, is valued at 396.6 million Ghana cedis. Ken?
That's almost half of the entire value of these lands we're speaking about.
Absolutely. And if you add Ofori-Atta, that's 224 million Ghana cedis. Odupon of Angkor is about 105 million Ghana cedis. If you combine these 3, that's about 70% of the acreage of land that we are talking about, fully encroached. And SSNIT, if you listen to the DG, says that it's becoming increasingly difficult to actually get these lands, reclaim these lands. And the Auditor General even put in the audit that it will be difficult for SSNIT to actually, reclaim all of this land. It will take a number of legal issues and all of that. Because you're talking about just 3 of these parcels of land out of the 9, and about 725 million Ghana cedis worth of the total we are talking about already fully encroached. And per what we are learning, it will be difficult for SSNIT to fully say that we are taking everything. That's why they are now talking about regularization. It means that SSNIT will now go to the people who have now developed these lands and say that, well, this land belongs to us. Maybe we cannot take it, but we want you to pay for the value of the parcel that you are sitting on or what you've developed. And that is the approach being used by SSNIT. But if you actually look at the report, what you realize is that it will be difficult for SSNIT to say that they are recovering all this 851 million Ghana cedis worth of land that has already been encroached upon by private individuals. According to them, they've been able to, out of this 851 million Ghana cedis, about 23 million Ghana cedis have been, reclaimed at the moment through the what they call the the regularization approach. But the question is, how did SSNIT end up spending pensioners' funds belonging to people? We all contribute to SSNIT, and when we go on pension, expect that we should be able to get this. And you buy these lands, and you've not been able to fence them, you've not been able to protect these lands, and you've let them at the mercy of private individuals. And according to the Auditor General's report, 9 parcels of land worth about 851 million Ghana cedis encroached upon. And about 3 of them fully encroached, And in terms of the value, that takes about 70% of the big value of 851 million that we are talking about. So it's a big question and a big black box in the Auditor General's report.
Right.
And you had responses from SSNIT over there, and they're saying that they're still keeping tabs on it. They're doing their best to recover ones that they will be able to, and using the regularization approach to make sure that they get some of this.
You mentioned that so far they've been able to, reclaim about 20-something million Ghana cedis from it. If they use the regularization approach, which you spoke about, how much do you think they can recover from this amount?
In fact, if you look at the amount in terms of the land, the proportion that has been fully encroached upon, that is the biggest component, right? And that for me will be the part that will be difficult for SSNIT to regularize, right? Because if it is partially encroached, that means you can start talking about fencing to actually reclaim part of the lands and all of that. But those that have been fully encroached upon, it will not come easy to just walk to somebody and say that this land belongs to me and then pay this amount so that you can. People have already paid money to agents and other people to actually get this land. And so you cannot already see that there will be a lot of litigations. There will be a lot of legal issues and all of that. So it will not be on a silver platter for SSNIT to say that they will reach about 200 million Ghana cedis maybe in the next 2 or 3 years. It is going to be difficult, especially with the land that have been fully encroached upon and have been developed. Reclaiming this land will require SSNIT to go through a lot of legal battles. And if you ask me how much SSNIT can recoup, 23 million out of 851 million Ghana cedis, that's a long way
chicken change
to go. In fact, there's also a land around Edum in Kumasi worth about 9.8 million Ghana cedis where it belongs to SSNIT. But the funny thing is, they don't have documentation to prove that the land belongs to them.
That is quite interesting. Isaac Ofori-Atta, always good to have you in the studio to give us detailed analysis on pressing issues of national concern. You're still watching the polls here on JoyNews. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more.